welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who is currently making s'mores with white chocolate and drinking a 20-ounce coffee. It's Chris Kelly.
Hey, everybody. Actually, it's 80 marshmallows and a white chocolate coffee.
Oh, got it. Wow.
80? Yeah, it's, well, you know, the way I look at it is if you're going to go camping, you got to go camping. And you can't go things halfway. And
so you're putting 80 marshmallows inside of one coffee?
Yeah, it cuts out the caffeine, but it really increases the sugar rush. In my opinion, the sugar rush lasts longer than the caffeine buzz. So if you're going to do it, then you might as well just do that.
You need some Ambien.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something weird, Chris Kelly?
Well, now that we're on the talks of Ambien and marshmallows, go ahead.
So I just want to say real quick. So if you've been listening to this podcast, Chris has been a guest on it for the last couple of years, been on many episodes that are wonderful. People love the Bowfinger episode. People keep going back to the Bowfinger. That's one of our more popular episodes, actually, and it keeps popping up all over the place. So of that one. But Chris, I've known Chris for years, and I call him Chris Kelly. And one time I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, yeah, I'm recording with Chris. And my wife goes, who? I'm Chris Kelly. She goes, oh, okay. And this morning I was like, yeah, I'm recording with Kelly. And Megan goes, who? I'm like, Chris Kelly. She's like, oh, okay. So when I say Chris or when I say Kelly, no one knows who you are. But I'm like, Chris Kelly, they're like, got it. I thought it was so fun. Oh, yeah, I got Kelly on the podcast today. Who? Chris Kelly. Ah.
Oh, you got a new person on your show. Cool. Yep. Oh, no, Chris Kelly.
No, Chris
same
Kelly.
Old guy.
Son of a son of a bee. And the weird thing is so when this movie came out, I was living in late 2008. I was living in Korea. And for some reason, I feel like I saw this movie in the United States in the theaters, but I didn't. So I have no clue when I watched this movie for the first time. I just had to let you know that, Chris Kelly.
I really don't remember whenever I first saw this either. I just remember that it came out around that time whenever all the improv comedy movies were just one right after the other. And to be quite honest, although there was a ton of them, they were all pretty good. I can't really think of one that was lesser than the other ones, but they were all very unique, but they all still had that same improv of comedy. And what I liked most about it was that they were all very different, although they all relied very much on the same kind of basis. It's like, first we have a group of teenagers that are throwing a party, improv it all. And then it's like, let's have two grown adults that are, mess ups their entire lives and they are doing a meaningless job, but they have to be role models. Go at it. And they're both equally as funny.
And then you have unhappy guys who have like beautiful girlfriends and fiancés and wives, but they're unhappy. But then at the end, they're like, oh, hey, my life's not that bad.
Just like that podcast that we did.
Yeah. But this movie, though, there's a review from Ebert, which I like. And Ebert says, role models is the kind of movie you don't see every day. A comedy that is funny, the kind of comedy where funny people say funny things in funny situations, not the kind of comedy that whacks you with manic shocks to force an audible Pavlovian response. And I think my favorite part of this movie is just some of the banter between Seann William Scott, Paul Rudd, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Bobby J. Thompson. I mean, Jane Lynch is Sweeney in this movie. She's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. She's dynamite. And originally she was supposed to be played by a male character, but after auditioning everybody and the director, David Wain, he really loved Jane Lynch and just thought that, it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. We're going to have Jane Lynch.
my favorite moment is when she's talking to the two characters and she's like, all right, Mr. Bullshit and Dr. Full of Shit. He's like, well, which one of us is which? And I could just watch the three of them in a room talking all day. I mean, and listen, since it was 2008, this movie does have some very, antiquated dialogue right now. And David Wain in the commentary, he even said that he's like, yeah, I wrote too many. He's like, I threw in too many, I guess in his words, he's like, I had too many gay jokes. He's like, I wish I didn't do that. Because this is pretty much chock full of it. And Louis C.K. says like a real, I don't know. Yeah. There's some lines in here that feel like a cheese grater against your ears now in 2020. I mean, in 2008, that was the norm. I mean, look at The Hangover and all that. And I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying that's the way the movies were. But you kind of, but other than that, though, I mean, this movie sort of drops that in the second half. In the first half, it's kind of vulgar. But then it moves towards the reconciliation between all the characters, and it becomes really sweet.
Yeah, and the kids equally add to the comedy, especially Bobby That kid.
Oh, he's so good.
I like what David Wain said in the commentary, saying that if Bobby J. Thompson was not available, he doesn't know who would have played that kid, because he said in the auditioning, he watched the tape of Bobby performing, and he was just blown away with him. And he thought, well, maybe he's just kind of a reserved kid and he just has this great act. And when they brought him in, it said that he just, as soon as Bobby entered the room, he owned the room and he engaged everybody and everyone loved him. And he said, that's my Ronnie.
Yeah. He is so good. And I hate saying this a lot in movies. His character's a force of nature, but he does own the screen when he's on it. And he's very natural too. I remember watching this. I don't remember watching it for the first time, but I remember realizing one time that this kid is good. This kid's funny. And so is Christopher Mintz-Plasse. I mean, he was in Superbad, and David Wain, you listen to the commentary, obviously, he kind of was worried about him because he's like, am I getting McLovin? Was he McLovin playing McLovin? But then he realized, oh, this kid's a good actor. And he has a warmth in this movie as well, which I dug. Yeah,
I liked how you could see him as Augie and you can also see him as McLovin, that he really is a good actor where he can separate the two. Although it is just, he can't help having the lisp, obviously, but it's just, he's such a good actor that he can be both characters, and he's very believable, both of them. And I just love his character of Augie as being so, he almost like, he's almost kind of ashamed that he's not like everyone else. But at the end of it, he becomes proud that he isn't like everyone else, which is awesome. I love it.
And I think one of my favorite parts at the end, and I think it was part of, because they did a reshoot 6 months after this movie because the writer's strike kicked it. Like, Paul Rudd there's a scene where Paul Rudd hit Seann William Scott in the nuts with a sword, and he really did it. That's what the writer's strike did to this film. I mean, there's
also the scene where they're at the campfire, whenever Paul Rudd and Christopher Mintz-Plasse are sitting at the campfire, and Christopher playing Augie, Hand says, "Oh no, I'm making this patch," and he's like, "Well, give her your patch, give that girl your patch, so that way she knows that you like her." And he says, "I can't because I'm making it for you." That whole interaction was right during the writer's strike because they weren't allowed to have any writers, so they needed to shoot something. And David said, "We just put the 2 cameras down, let them go."
I like when Paul Rudd said "solo, dude." I like that. That really worked. But at the end, there's a scene where Augie's parents, mom and stepdad, are talking to him, and they try to be nice. And it doesn't succeed, but they're nice. Like, "Oh, you got second place, but still, like, a girl beat you." And then I like when Augie just goes, "Thank you for trying to be nice." Like, he understood that he could have gotten mad and ran away, but I think he understood that his parents tried, or his parental units tried at that moment. So it could have been really bratty, but it turned into a nice little moment where he kind of recognized that his parents were trying, but they failed.
Yeah, all around it just seemed like a great little experience for everybody. I just liked how everything was kind of in a good little package, I guess you could say.
And so I guess we should talk about the plot, right? So this.
Yeah, I mean, the plot being that the two main characters played by Seann William Scott, which Seann William Scott, I like how he started out as Stifler in the American Pie movies, and then he kind of kept the same character, but at the same time he played drastically different versions of Stifler. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It's like we're watching Wheeler, but it's like if Stifler had actually grown up and been through some serious stuff. It's the same thing with the Rundown that he did a few years prior. It's just, I just think it's really neat how he's done that throughout his whole career.
I think that's highlighted with Goon. I think that's his best performance, because he's not a Stifler one in that. But I think he was able to turn it around. Have you watched Goon?
Sadly, I have not, and I know you've been telling me to watch it for a couple of years now, but I will get around to it. I swear to God.
I mean, he's good. What I think he excels at is being a stereotypical jerk. I mean, an intro to him, he makes Paul Rudd smell his fingers, which is a horrible introduction. But then you get to know him, and he's just a nice, earnest dude. But he says some very 2008 lines in this movie. But you kind of like the guy despite him being that character, I think, is what it is. I think he's more stable than Paul Rudd. He's almost more professional than Paul Rudd, too, in regards.
I think the character of Wheeler is that he understands what his path is.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
whereas with Danny, he has no idea, and we find that out later on whenever he has his meltdown, which is fantastic when he's giving that speech in front of the kids. And David Wain has said that they shot that speech at 3 different points during the production of the movie, where they did it in the beginning, the middle, and the end, because they wanted to see how Paul Rudd actually felt about his character of Danny, because that way he could add more to that speech. He doesn't really like what he's doing. He doesn't like being a spokesman of the energy drink Minotaur, which is obviously supposed to be, obviously a knockoff of Monster. And of course, all of us who were around or Red Bull. I mean, that's obviously what that truck is supposed to be, is one of those Red Bull cars, which any of us who knows, who was around in college or in high school around the mid 2000s knows that you saw these vehicles quite literally everywhere. I remember seeing them all the time when I was at Penn State. But
they were like ice cream trucks for college students.
They were, but they were free. They were like free ice cream. It's like if you had an ice cream truck and you offered free ice cream, and every day you just went down to whatever neighborhood and handed out free ice. It's like, that's exactly what happened with these things. I remember whenever we would be studying or whatever at college, and you would see one of these vehicles pull up, it was like a beeline. Like, you just saw people lining up to take the free energy drink.
Do you drink energy drinks, Kelly? Chris Kelly?
No, I used to, but I found that they had too much. It was too much caffeine for me. It was just too much, and I couldn't handle it. I was getting like shaky, so I switched to coffee. And I've always drank coffee, but you know what? That was probably the problem, to be honest with you. I was drinking coffee and energy drinks.
Oh man, you're a madman, Chris Kelly.
I haven't slept since 2012.
Oh man, I'm tired, but am I? I should be tired, right? I should be tired. I don't know. But I stopped drinking. So I hate sounding pretentious, but when I went to Korea, I didn't really I stayed away from all the fast food, and I stayed away from everything, just kind of ate out there, like the healthiest I could find. And I didn't have an energy drink for a year. So when I came back to the States, I just thought, you know what? I haven't had a Red Bull in forever. I'm kind of jet lagged. I'm going to grab a Red Bull at the airport. It was like $6, so that was annoying. But I drank it, and I swear to you, dude, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. Not like a literal heart attack, but, just you drink it, and it just hits you, and you're just thinking, holy mackerel. This is not good. I was used to this. So that's when I stopped. But I kind of loved their scenes where like $6 of jet fuel, and they're pissing green, and it
Shark's piss.
Yeah, that's what it was. But I think the beginning does a good job of just making Paul Rudd the most unlikable human being possible, which I kind of love.
Yeah, I think that like everybody his character is supposed to be 35. He's supposed to be not sure of what he wants to do with his life, which everybody has that moment in their life. But he just does not like where his path is headed at all. And his way of fixing it is with his vastly more successful girlfriend, played wonderfully by Elizabeth Banks. I love her character. I really wish, just like what David Wain said, I wish they could have put more of her in it.
Oh yeah,
she was a great character that they really should have added more to. His great plan is to marry her, and she immediately recognizes this as being a bad idea, so she says no. And I love how she's talking to her next client. The guy's like, "That's not me. That's stealing this. I don't know what you're talking about." And they play the video, and he's like, "I can't believe it's me." And he says his name, stealing everything, and no one will catch me.
I love that character. And I think that's a testament to what David Wain said on the commentary. He just said he brings in the best for one day, so he doesn't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
And he wants people to rock their one line. I love that character, though. That's not me. No. Then he says his name could be anyone. And then he makes that great point. He makes that great point about marriage.
Yeah. And she's like, oh yeah, well, you marry me. And he turns around and he's like, oh, Mazel Tov. And she's like, we're not getting married. Wait, what? And then he's like, you get married to, what is it he says? You get to marry, you marry the person that you want to be with for the rest of your life, regardless of like how successful they are or something around those lines. And she's like, you know what? Why don't you shut up? It's like, yeah, he's absolutely correct.
And she was working on another project, correct? And that's why she couldn't be on this film more. I know she was bouncing around during this time between job to job, and she couldn't be on it more. I think that's why she wasn't in it more.
Was she doing the Hunger Games ?
I don't think that was post 2010. We can pull it up during the break, but he said something.
Oh
on the
no,
commentary.
she was doing Zack and Miri.
That's what it was. Yeah, you're right. And so he said
2008 was actually a really big year for her. She had several projects going on at the same time. She's had about 7 or 8 different